Help us hit our first 1,000 subscribers. Your support drives us to create even more wonderful stories. Thanks for being part of our journey. In this video, I opened her iPad by accident, and what I saw shattered 12 years of marriage in a heartbeat. But instead of screaming, I made a move that she'll never forget. Chapter 1. The Forgotten Password. It started on a quiet Thursday night, the kind that feels too ordinary to matter. Until everything changes in a blink. Daniel was in the kitchen, trying to find that chicken parmesan recipe Lily swore she had saved months ago. She wasn't home yet, said she had a late meeting. So he grabbed her iPad, which had been untouched for weeks. He didn't expect it to unlock. She was private with her devices, but when he entered the old password they once shared in college, Venice 2011, it slid open like nothing had changed, except everything had. There was no recipe, just an open Safari tab, paused on a website for La Rouge, the most expensive and romantic restaurant in the city. He blinked twice, confused. Lily hated French food. At least that's what she always told him. Curious, Daniel clicked on the tab again. It was a reservation confirmation. Saturday, 8 p.m. Table for 2, Lily and Chris. Chris, as in Chris from her office? The same Chris who laughed a little too hard at her jokes during the last company party? The one she called annoying but harmless Dash? Daniel's gut dropped like a stone in water. He tried to brush it off. Maybe it was a work thing, a business dinner, but who books La Rouge for business? Especially when the table is listed as Lily and Chris. No last names, no company, just intimacy. He heard the front door unlock. Lily's heels echoed through the hallway. Daniel quickly locked the iPad and placed it exactly where it had been. His heart pounded louder than her steps. She entered the kitchen with a smile. He mirrored it, but inside, something had cracked, and he wasn't sure it could be fixed. This was only the beginning, and Daniel had no idea how far down the rabbit hole he was about to fall. Keep watching. What Daniel finds next will leave you speechless. Coming up in the next chapter. Chapter 2. The Unmarked Envelope. The next morning, Daniel couldn't shake the feeling. Lily acted normal, almost too normal. She made pancakes, kissed him goodbye, and said she had a team strategy meeting later that evening. But all he could hear in his head was, table for 2, Lily and Chris. At work, Daniel tried to focus, but everything blurred into the background. He kept replaying the last few weeks in his mind. Her longer showers, her sudden obsession with spinning classes, the nights she'd come home smelling like perfume she didn't wear for him. By lunchtime, he made a decision. He needed clarity. He texted her, "Have a great meeting today. Love you." She replied with a heart emoji. Cold, generic, unlike her. That night, Lily didn't come home until after 10. Daniel was sitting on the couch, pretending to watch a documentary. She walked in wearing a dress he had never seen before. Black, sleek, and cut just above the knee. She claimed she had to dress up to impress a client. He nodded, said nothing, but something inside him whispered. She's lying. Later, when Lily was in the shower, her bag lay open on the dresser. Daniel had never gone through her things before, but tonight, curiosity burned hotter than guilt. He quietly opened the bag. Inside was a receipt from La Rouge. Dinner for 2, 2 glasses of wine, 1 creme brulee, and 1 handwritten envelope, unmarked. His hands trembled as he pulled it out. Inside was a small note. No name, no greeting, just 6 chilling words. Last night was perfect. Until next time. Daniel froze. His breathing slowed. The water was still running. He had maybe 2 minutes before she came out. He put everything back exactly where he found it. But the note, he kept the note. His mind spiraled. This wasn't just a suspicion anymore. It was real. Now he needed proof. And what Daniel would discover next would destroy more than just trust. Keep watching. You won't believe what happens when he follows her. Up next in the following chapter. Chapter 3. The Shadow Behind the Glass. The next morning, Daniel sat in his car outside Lily's office. He had told her he had an early meeting across town, but instead of heading to work, he drove straight to Stellaris Creative Group, where Lily worked as a marketing lead. The plan was simple. Observe, just for today. At 9:07 a.m., Lily arrived. She stepped out of a black car. Daniela's jaw clenched. It wasn't her usual Uber, and the man driving, tall, clean-shaven, gray suit, confident posture, not a rideshare driver. Lily laughed as she leaned toward the window before stepping away. Daniel took a picture. He didn't know the man's name yet, but something in his gut told him he would soon. He watched as Lily walked into the building, then disappeared behind the tinted lobby glass. He waited, watched, waited. Hours passed. Daniel's phone buzzed with work emails, but none of them mattered. All he could think about was that mysterious car and the envelope from the night before. Around noon, he saw the man again. Same suit, same car. He parked across the street and entered a nearby cafe. Not alone. This time, Lily walked in with him. They sat in the far corner. From Daniel's spot, he couldn't hear them, but he could see everything. The smiles, the subtle touch on the wrist, the moment her head tilted as she laughed, like she used to do with him. Then, something strange happened. A waiter approached them with a drink. Lily looked surprised, but the man whispered something and smiled. She nodded, then reached across the table and held his hand. Daniel took more pictures. His heart thudded against his chest, not from heartbreak, but from anger. Back in his car, Daniel zoomed in on the man's face. He ran a reverse image search, and there it was, on the company's team page. Chris Maddox, Senior Account Director, divorced, no kids, newly hired, same man from the car. Daniel scrolled down. One thing stood out immediately. Started at Stellaris 4 months ago, exactly when Lily's behavior started to shift. But then, something even darker appeared. Chris had been accused of inappropriate relationships at a previous firm. No formal charges, but enough online chatter to make Daniel's skin crawl. He didn't want to believe it, but everything was pointing in the same direction. This wasn't just an affair. This was a pattern. That night, Lily came home late. Again, she said they had a team dinner and she was exhausted. Daniel handed her a glass of wine and kissed her forehead. He smiled. She didn't notice his phone recording the entire conversation on the counter, because from this point on, Daniel would be collecting evidence. And he wasn't just going to catch them, he was going to break them. But what he discovered next wasn't about Lily or Chris at all. It was something that would flip everything upside down. And you're not ready for it. Keep watching, because in the next chapter, the trap begins to close. Chapter 4, The Secret Meeting. Daniel couldn't sleep, even with Lily lying just inches away from him in bed. He felt like they were worlds apart. He stared at the ceiling until 3 a.m., going over the footage and photos he'd collected. The smile she gave Chris was different. It wasn't just flirtation. It was connection. The next morning, Daniel called in sick. He needed time, not to rest, but to act. He wasn't going to confront her. Not yet. He needed undeniable proof. He remembered Lily mentioning a team strategy retreat planned for Friday, a one-night stay at a resort just outside the city, company-sponsored, but something about it felt staged, too convenient. Daniel checked the company's Instagram page. They posted a photo. Excited for our upcoming team-building weekend. Hard work deserves good wine and great views. In the background of the photo was a familiar shadow. Chris. Daniel made a decision. He booked a room at the same resort under a fake name. Different floor, different check-in time. He even rented a car she wouldn't recognize. That Friday, Lily left home with a small suitcase and a kiss on his cheek. "I'll be back tomorrow night," she smiled. Daniel nodded, forcing a grin. 3 hours later, he arrived at the resort. He checked in quietly and went straight to the bar, sunglasses on, watching, and then he saw them, Chris and Lily, walking out of the elevator together, not as co-workers, but as something else. Her hand brushed his back. She leaned in as they laughed. They looked comfortable, too comfortable. Daniel followed them at a distance. They entered a private lounge area. He pulled out his phone and began recording. Then, the shocker, they didn't stop at the bar. They kept walking until they reached a suite. Chris opened the door. Lily walked in first. The door shut behind them. Daniel stood there frozen. All the suspicions, all the doubts. Now reality. He didn't cry, he didn't scream, he just stood there, filming the door. But just as he turned to walk away, he noticed something, a flash of movement in the room across the hall. Another figure watching, a woman, holding a camera. Daniel's eyes widened. He wasn't the only one following them. But who was she? And why was she watching Chris and Lily too? Everything was about to twist. You don't want to miss what's coming next. Keep watching, coming up in the next chapter. Chapter 5, The Other Watcher. Daniel stood frozen in the hallway, staring at the woman across from him. She was mid-30s, blonde hair in a bun, and holding a DSLR camera with a zoom lens aimed at the same sweet Lily had just entered. Her body stiffened when she noticed Daniel staring, and for a second, it looked like she was about to run, but then she mouthed two words that chilled him to the core. "You too." Daniel approached her cautiously, his heart pounding in his chest. He didn't speak until he was close enough to whisper, "Who are you? Why are you watching them?" The woman lowered her camera, her hands shaking slightly. "My name's Natalie," she whispered. "I'm Chris's wife." Those 4 words knocked the wind out of Daniel. For a moment, they just stood there. Two strangers bound by betrayal. Natalie explained everything. She had suspected Chris for months. Late hours, deleted texts, secret business trips that didn't match the calendar. When she finally checked his GPS history and noticed his trips coincided with Lily's supposed conferences, she knew something was going on. She followed him to the resort too, just like Daniel, but she didn't expect to find someone else doing the same thing. Daniel showed her the video he just recorded. Natalie showed him screenshots of messages she intercepted from Chris's old iCloud backup. Explicit messages, plans for tonight, mentions of our escape. Daniel felt his knees weaken. So this wasn't just an affair. This was premeditated. They were planning something. Natalie's voice trembled. "They want to disappear together. He said he's done with me, but he didn't say it to my face. He said it to her." Daniel clenched his fists. But then Natalie said something that made everything feel like a movie. "We have one chance. We can blow it all up tonight." Daniel stared at her. He didn't come here for revenge. He came here for answers. But now, he had an accomplice, and their plan was about to begin. You won't believe what Daniel and Natalie do next. It's about to get wild. Keep watching to see their shocking move unfold. What happens next in the following chapter? Chapter 6. The Trap is Set. Daniel and Natalie sat side by side in the hotel's dimly lit lounge, blending in with the background like two shadows plotting in silence. Between them, Natalie's tablet glowed faintly, playing a muted loop of security camera footage she hacked from the resort's system through an old friend in IT. They watched Lily and Chris laughing in the pool earlier that day, sipping cocktails and acting like the world was theirs. The pain in Daniel's chest twisted tighter with every second of the video. But it wasn't time to break. It was time to act. Natalie had a plan. And it wasn't just about catching them in the act. It was about confronting them with everything. She wanted them to feel what betrayal felt like, to experience the humiliation, the helplessness. Daniel nodded slowly as she laid out every step. They would intercept them during their romantic dinner reservation at the resort's rooftop restaurant. But not just barge in. They'd first plant evidence. A USB drive on Chris's laptop with screenshots of the affair, Daniel's video, and the final blow. A fake message from Lily telling Chris she was using him, and one from Chris saying the same about Lily. The idea was brilliant. Turn them against each other before they even knew what hit them. They'd arranged for a hotel staff member, paid discreetly by Natalie, to deliver the laptop to their table as a surprise gift. Something Lily had supposedly arranged. It would arrive mid-meal. Curiosity would get the best of them. They'd open the laptop. They'd see the files. They'd see everything. Daniel's hands shook as he copied the files. Every click felt like a countdown. This wasn't just revenge. This was emotional warfare. And then Natalie looked at him and asked quietly, "What will you do once it's done?" He didn't answer, because deep down, Daniel didn't know. Would he walk away? Would he expose Lily publicly? Would he fall apart? The only thing he knew was that by the end of tonight, nothing would be the same. And just as they were about to leave the lounge, Natalie's phone buzzed. A message from the staff member. They've moved tables, private room. Do we proceed? Daniel and Natalie stared at each other in silence. This wasn't part of the plan, and changing it now could change everything. You're not ready for what happens when Daniel and Natalie enter that private room. This is the turning point. Keep watching, because the next chapter will flip everything on its head. What unfolds next in the upcoming chapter will leave you speechless. Chapter 7, The Private Room. The air in the hallway felt heavier with every step Daniel and Natalie took toward the private dining suite. The soft music and laughter from the rest of the restaurant faded behind them, replaced by the muffled thump of Daniel's heartbeat in his ears. He had prepared for a public explosion, not an intimate ambush, but maybe that was better, more controlled, more personal. Natalie stopped him just before they reached the door. "Let me do the talking first," she whispered, adjusting the slim recorder hidden under her blazer. He nodded, but his jaw was clenched so tight it felt like it might shatter. He wasn't sure he could trust himself not to break down or erupt. They pushed open the door. Inside, Lily and Chris sat across from each other, candlelight flickering between them like it was a scene from a romance movie. Lily was laughing. Chris was reaching across the table, touching her hand. Neither of them noticed the door open until Daniel spoke. "So this is what business trips mean now." Lily froze mid-laugh. Chris dropped his fork with a clatter. The room went ice cold. Natalie stepped forward calmly, placing the laptop between them. "No need to lie. It's all here." Lily opened her mouth, then closed it again. Her eyes jumped between the laptop and Daniel's face. "Daniel, I can explain." "Don't." He cut her off, his voice low. "I've seen the videos, the messages, the reservations in both your names." Chris tried to speak, but Natalie shut him down fast. "Your wife knows too, by the way. She's the one who helped me pull the footage." Silence. Then Lily's voice cracked. "It wasn't supposed to go this far." That sentence hit Daniel harder than he expected. Wasn't supposed to. What did she mean? Like it was an accident. He looked at her, really looked, and saw not guilt, but fear. Not for what she did, but for what he might do now that he knew. Suddenly, the hotel phone on the wall rang. Loud, abrupt. Everyone jumped. Chris answered. His face went pale. He turned to Lily. "We have a problem." And just like that, everything shifted. Natalie stepped closer. "What did they say?" Chris stammered. "Security's been alerted. Someone leaked the video to the resort screens." Lily's face drained of color. "You didn't." Daniel took a step back, stunned. "I didn't," he whispered. Natalie's face twisted into confusion. "Wait, then who did?" That was the moment they all realized. Someone else was watching too, and that someone had just exposed everything. You think this was the twist? Think again. What happens next will flip this story on its head. Don't miss what's coming up, because in the next chapter, the real puppet master steps into the light. Coming up next, the shocking reveal that no one saw coming. Chapter 8, The Unseen Player. Chaos erupted in the hotel. Staff were scrambling. Guests in the lobby were whispering and pointing at screens where fragments of the affair, grainy surveillance shots, intimate audio, had appeared for a full 60 seconds before going black, but that minute was all it took to set the fire. Daniel, Lily, Chris, and Natalie stood frozen in the private suite, now bathed in red emergency light. It wasn't a fire drill. It was the fallout of something carefully orchestrated. Daniel's phone buzzed. It was a message from an unknown number, just a single line. Now they all know who she really is. Time to finish what she started. He turned the screen to Natalie. "Do you know who this is?" Natalie's brows furrowed. "That's not my source, I swear." Lily backed away, her voice trembling. I didn't leak it. Daniel, you have to believe me." But belief had long since left the building. What remained was suspicion, and someone manipulating it from the shadows. They rushed down the corridor, escorted by hotel security who were now treating them more like suspects than guests. As they reached the main lobby, a crowd had formed around the large central screen. Daniel's heart sank. There, looping silently on screen, was a blurry video. Lily kissing Chris, Lily laughing with Chris, Lily entering his room, and then A fourth clip neither of them recognized. Lily, talking to a man they'd never seen before. The video had no audio, but the way she leaned in, the way the man handed her something, a flash drive? Daniel turned slowly to Lily. What is that? Lily's lips parted, but no words came out. Then the man in the video turned, just enough for his face to catch the light. Natalie gasped. I know him, she said. That's Martin Keller. He used to work in cybersecurity. Got fired for blackmailing clients. Daniel felt his stomach twist. You're working with a blackmailer? Lily shook her head violently. No, he came to me. He said he had something on Chris, and that if I helped, he'd delete it. I didn't think he would expose everything. Natalie finished for her, voice hard. He just did. Then Chris stepped forward, pale and visibly shaken. I know Martin too, but not through work. He's my cousin. The room fell silent. Lily stared at him in shock. You, what? Chris nodded slowly. And he warned me months ago to stay away from you. Now it was Daniel's turn to be confused. What are you saying? Chris turned to Daniel. He didn't want me seeing Lily. He said she had secrets even I didn't know. Said she used men like pawns. And now, Chris trailed off. Lily's face had gone white. She whispered. It wasn't supposed to be like this. But Daniel had heard enough. Then maybe it's time we find out what exactly it was supposed to be. You think you've seen betrayal? Wait until you see who really started this whole game. The web is deeper than you ever imagined. And next, the final threads start unraveling. Don't even think about clicking away, because in the next chapter, the puppet strings snap. Chapter 9. When Masks Fall. The suite was dead silent except for the sound of heavy breathing. Daniel stood in the middle of the room, eyes darting between Lily, Chris, and Natalie. While the glow of the paused video still lingered on the giant screen behind them, Lily broke the silence first. I didn't plan for this to explode like this, she whispered. Daniel's jaw clenched. No? Then what exactly was your plan? Because right now it looks like you played all of us. Chris raised his hand, voice trembling with disbelief. Wait, so you were using me? Was any of it real? Lily took a shaky step forward. I thought if I gave Martin that drive, he'd delete the video. I didn't know he'd use it as leverage. Natalie narrowed her eyes. Martin doesn't just leverage, he builds traps. You gave him power, Lily, and now he's pulling the strings. Then the TV screen blinked to life again. Everyone turned in horror. It was a live video feed. Martin's face appeared, smiling, calm, in some unknown location. Hello, everyone, he said smoothly. Looks like my little experiment worked better than expected. Daniel stepped forward, fists clenched. What do you want? Martin chuckled. Oh, Daniel, it's not about what I want. It's about what Lily already gave me. Chris looked confused. You said you had dirt on me? But there's nothing. I've got nothing to hide. Martin smirked. I never had anything on you, Chris. You were just the decoy. The real target was Daniel. Everyone froze. Daniel blinked. Me? Martin leaned closer to the camera. Lily didn't just betray you emotionally. She betrayed your company. The drive? That wasn't just a favor to me. It had your clients' data, financials, contracts, secrets. She sold them to me. Lily's face drained of all color. No, Daniel, that's not true. Martin interrupted. Cold and clear. She handed it over willingly. And now, I own you. Daniel staggered back like he'd been punched. He stared at Lily, trying to breathe. You sold out my company? Tears streamed down Lily's face. I didn't mean to. He threatened to ruin you. I thought if I gave him something small. Daniel's voice turned ice. Small? Lily, my life's work is gone. Chris muttered. We've all been played. Every single one of us. But Natalie didn't speak. She was watching the screen carefully, noticing a detail no one else had. She leaned in. Wait. That background behind Martin. She pulled out her phone and zoomed in. Then her face turned deadly serious. That's not a remote location. That's the tech lab in Daniel's own office building. Gasps erupted. Daniel's eyes widened. He's here. Chris bolted toward the door. We need security now. But before they could react, the screen flashed again. this time showing the rooftop of Daniel's building. Martin stood in the corner, with a suitcase, smiling. "I'll give you one last chance to join me, Daniel," he said, "or watch your entire world burn." And then the screen went black. Just when you thought this story had hit rock bottom, it drills deeper. What will Daniel do? Will Lily face justice? And what's really inside that suitcase? You won't believe what happens next. Don't miss the final, jaw-dropping chapter, because in the last part, someone won't make it out. Coming up in the final chapter. Chapter 10, The Last Move. The rooftop door slammed open as Daniel, Chris, Natalie, and 2 security guards rushed out into the freezing night air. Martin stood at the edge, wind tugging at his coat, the suitcase at his feet glowing faintly from embedded tech lights. Lily wasn't with them. She stayed behind, handcuffed to a chair in Daniel's office. Screaming apologies no one listened to anymore. Daniel's voice cut through the night like a blade. "It's over, Martin." Martin turned, unshaken. "Is it?" he asked calmly. "Because from where I'm standing, you've lost everything." Chris stepped forward. "You don't have the guts to jump? Or blow anything up? You're bluffing." Martin smirked, then kicked the suitcase open. Inside was a tablet, a detonator, and several hard drives glowing with biometric locks. "This isn't a bomb," he said. "It's something far more permanent." He held up the tablet. "One tap and every file Lily gave me goes public: emails, audits, affairs, tax fraud, corrupt deals. You'll be ruined, Daniel, and so will everyone else connected to you." Daniel didn't flinch. "You're already surrounded. You won't get out of here." Martin raised the tablet. "I don't need to get out. I just need to finish what she started." And then Natalie stepped forward. "No, Martin," she said, voice calm. "You forgot one thing." Martin paused. "What?" Natalie pulled out her phone, flipped the screen around, and showed a live recording of everything he just said. Broadcasted, streaming, thousands of viewers already watching. He blinked. You're live streaming this?" Natalie smiled coldly. "Oops. Guess the world already heard your confession." Chris grinned. "You lose." Martin looked around. The guards were already closing in. Daniel stepped forward slowly. "And for the record," he added, "Lily didn't destroy me. She exposed you. And now, we rebuild." Martin's face crumbled for the first time. But just when they thought it was over, Martin lunged. He grabbed the tablet and threw it into the air, screaming, "If I go down, I'm taking you with me." But Chris was faster. He tackled him, pinning him down as the tablet clattered across the roof and skidded toward the edge. Daniel caught it just in time. The guards cuffed Martin, dragging him up, and as the red and blue lights of police cars began to flash below, silence finally settled. Daniel turned to Natalie. "Thank you." But she just handed him her phone. "You should see who tipped me off about Martin being here." Daniel looked at the screen. His breath caught. It was a message from Lily. "He's going to the roof. Stop him. It's the only way I can make things right." Daniel stared at the words, emotion rushing in like a wave, and for the first time in days, he whispered, "Maybe not everything was a lie." Natalie said nothing. She just looked up at the sky, whispering, "Let's go home." And as they walked toward the rooftop door, the camera panned back to the city skyline, where secrets had just become headlines and betrayal had finally met its end. The end. This is how it ends. Or does it? What would you have done in Daniel's place? Can betrayal ever truly be forgiven? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories like this.